All right, it's 6:01 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and call the council to order. Please rise to the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, as we gather for this meeting, we ask for your guidance and wisdom, to help us to work together effectively, to listen to each other with open hearts, and to make decisions that honor you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Y'all may be seated. So this is just a special meeting tonight, a budget workshop agenda meeting. No action will be taken. We have a couple of members that are absent and one that's going to be arriving late, but we are allowed to go ahead and start the meeting because there are 4 members present, 3 council and the mayor. So we're going to go ahead and do that at this time. So agenda item number 2, mayor announcements. I do not have any announcements tonight, but the city manager would like to speak during my time.
So as you all know, that Kittle project apartment is, they're ready to start mobilizing to get that going. And I reached out to them requesting, did they want a groundbreaking ceremony? Their response back was, we don't typically do that. We typically do a grand opening when there's something there to kind of look at, but they said that they would be more than willing to coordinate with their marketing team if we thought it would be kind of neat for the city to do a groundbreaking ceremony. So I just kind of need some direction as far as, do we want to do it or not?
We can do a groundbreaking and an opening ceremony, both.
And they're willing to, for sure.
Just go for it.
Okay. Okay, all right.
Sure.
Very good, thank you.
Okay. All right, council, does anybody else have any announcements that they would like to make during this time? Okay. Moving on to public comments. I did not receive any yellow cards. Is there anybody from the public that did not turn in a yellow card that would like to speak this evening? All right, moving on to agenda item number 4. Receive a report and discuss fiscal year 2026 budget projections concerning personnel and fringe benefit cost.
All right, again, good evening, council and community citizens. I want to point out again, this is just a workshop. There's been some buzz, I guess, that, you know, we're going to bankrupt the city, and that's not the goal here. The goal is to educate, be transparent, so that we can see what the needs of the department is, what the future needs are, and formulate a plan around that. So tonight is, you know, employee cost and personnel and fringe benefits. So this shouldn't be a long meeting. This is really more just to kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at. We actually, Sandra just met with our fringe benefit broker today, and she's got some pretty exciting news to share with everybody on that front. So I guess July is the month that we do this, so unfortunately this will probably always be a little chaotic during this month. Kind of at the recommendation, council, the directors, we've kind of talked through this. Obviously, we want to keep up with increasing costs, those types of things. So kind of what we're looking at right now, and again, I understand I have to make the numbers work, but what we're trying to do is look at a COLA increase for the directors and managers, a 3% COLA, and city staff hourly would be a 5%. And then, of course, we have our step plans already in place, which will take care of our fire department and our police department. Now, I will say something that we are going to be doing, trying to put in place moving forward is, I think it's important that you don't just give a raise. I think there should be something attached to it, kind of like our step plans. You know, obviously, the directors and stuff are making sure that their personnel are meeting objectives and goals to get those, you know, step step pays. So we will be looking at kind of best practices as far as sitting down with the directors and putting things in place to say, okay, we want to give you a raise, but we also need to make sure that you are hitting objectives and you're doing your part. You're not just showing up to, and punching in and punching out kind of thing. Not saying that's happening here, and I know it's not happening because we have a very small, again, I've said, a city our size, we should have 85 employees. We have 56. So, they get a lot done for the size of staff we are, so kudos to them. But that doesn't mean we can't try to be better and, better ourselves, basically. So, any questions on that? Okay, again, if you have any issues with kind of the direction, what we're thinking, please feel free to speak up, obviously. So, these are kind of the estimates by kind of the different departments broken out inside of the system. And this kind of shows the adopted budget that we're currently in versus the estimated, and this is factoring in the COLAs, the fringe benefits. This is kind of all-inclusive costs. That is correct, right, Mara? Oh, okay. I'm 99% sure it is, but I just wanted to confirm. Okay, yeah, all right. So this is kind of a breakdown of what you're kind of looking at. And you'll also see off to the side where we're going to try to combat getting obviously I'd love to add 30 employees, but that's not going to happen. So we're kind of looking to where we can, where we need to add to keep up with the kind of the biggest areas. And we'll talk a little bit more about this. There's really not that many slides, to be honest. So, but administration, that is the marketing person, PR person that I think Orna has proven that we really need somebody, and to get somebody full-time would be really beneficial to the city and in communication. Fire and rescue, that is 3 hires with, I will put a caveat, a potential 4th. And the reason I don't put 4 in there is because it's kind of taking a position that we already have that's part-time and making them full-time. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, but there's also some, it's not just a city funding. There's some partnership with ESD, so we'll get into that in a little bit. Development services, that is a new hire, and we'll also talk about that a little bit more when we get to that slide, but this is a person to try to keep up with the growing development that is coming to our city. And again, we continue to have some really, really awesome conversations with potential commercial. So, anyway, that's just to kind of keep up with the demand right now. Amber does an amazing job, but she's, a week or 2 behind, and we don't want to be a city that's hard to work with or, we can't get answers to. And we are looking at technology in that area to help that as well, but even with technology, it's an area, especially since, we need to build some layers around Don and his team so that we can start preparing for the growth and, we're not just, behind. So more than we are. This next slide is to just kind of show the enterprise side. Again, I don't put too much focus, as you guys saw, on the revenue side. Their revenue is increasing, so there's not a huge hit. There's not a huge hit all the way around, but what I would consider a huge hit. But there is, a little bit of a cost increase with these cost of living and cost of living. So, and again, the goal, we're going to be handing you budget books on Thursday with these numbers dialed in starting tomorrow. Now that we've kind of gotten through the personnel and the fringe benefit side, now we can really start trying to figure out where can we save money to add to what it is we're trying to get done, so we can present those books to you next Thursday and then give you kind of several days to look at it, and then we can start kind of having the tougher conversations. All right, so this next slide is to kind of speak to the new hires. This is kind of what the additional cost is, how they're looking to be funded. The P&R marketing Type A and Type B have already agreed to funding 25% of this. It's in their budget, which we'll be presenting on Thursday. So there's the good news. And then 25% would come from the admin, and 25% would also be applied to water and sewer. So this is kind of a great way to add an employee with, when it comes to the general pool, taxing part of the entity, to where we're only adding 25% cost. Welcome, Mr. Foster. Glad you could be here. So the next one's kind of fun. Obviously, the area that we're struggling the most in is, first responders, fire. And when you compare to other cities, and we're so far below, this is an area that, really kind of needs the most ramp up. So the ESD has grant funding, and I'm going to kind of speak to it, and then if you have more in-depth questions, Chief Warner is here to speak to it, and I've also included in your packet kind of the outline on how things get funded. So the ESD for the first 2 years will pay 75% of it up to, it's like $62,000 or $67,000. Again, it's in your, let me give you the exact numbers here. 65, thank you, up to $65,000. So this is a great opportunity because growth is coming, and as I've promised you, we want to become a revenue-focused, with the TIFMAS and some of these other things. I think we can really kind of grow the revenue, additional revenue, not burdening the taxpayer or our citizens, to help fund some of these things. And this gives us motivation to get out in front of it and make sure that we're progressing the city forward. So, so this is, when you look on the column that you're looking at right now, this is the actual cost of what it would cost. This is not what it's going to cost the city, okay? The next one is the fourth position that I was talking about. We technically have a fire marshal, okay, but part-time. And this is another thing. You'll also notice we talk about revenue generating. Obviously, PR marketing is not going to generate additional revenue. Firefighting does generate revenue, as you guys saw. It's 11.5% of our revenue. So the more people we have, the more calls we can take, and the more revenue that can be generated. Not to mention the TIFMAS. The fire marshal is already budgeted for part-time. Okay. Then you take the fact that ESD is also going to fund 75% of that. It's almost like the fire marshal's a wash. In fact, it might even reduce some cost to the city with that position. So not a lot of burden there as far as the cost to the city. Development services, again, this is that coordinator position we were talking about, to try to help speed things up, to make it, so we can get out in front and make it easier and more fun to work with the city. We put that it's a non-revenue generating, but in fact, your development department actually does generate revenue. So you could see how much additional revenue is already projected. So with some of that additional revenue, oh, I'm sorry, I back up. Did you have any questions for Chief Warner on the firefighter or the fire marshal?
No.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I did.
Okay, yeah.
So is the fire marshal something we would be hiring then outside of our current, excuse me, staff, or can someone be trained up to do that position? Excuse me.
Or is Ed going to maintain the position?
Good evening, Council, Mayor. Thank you. I have talked with Fire Marshal Cheever, and he may change his mind, but previously he said he would not be interested in a full-time position. So that is something that we would look at. We might be able to promote from within. I don't have any great interest in that from within at this particular point, so we might have to go outside looking to hire within, hire into the city.
Is that position a position that does create revenue, just in the form of going to the businesses and checking out what they're doing, how they're doing it, and making sure they're all in the correct protocol?
It could in part. So there is a fee schedule already in place that's been approved by previous council at previous meetings. We just don't have the mechanisms to utilize that to its fullest extent. So if you think about something as simple as a burn permit, I think everybody on the council understands that, right? There is a charge for that, and that helps cover the costs of somebody going out and making sure that all safety measures are in place and whatnot. And then it also would help cover any costs if things got out of control and we have to respond. So that recoups a little bit of cost. But there's also a multitude of other fees for plan review, for gas line inspections, for pressure tests, for witnessing pressure tests on fire hydrants, whatever the case may be. We just don't have the full-time personnel where we can actually send somebody out and recoup some of that. So there is a list of tasks, and there are fees associated with that. But we don't have anybody that can go out and do that at this particular point. Now, the way we work with that is the city is contracted with a third party that will take care of a lot of the necessities. But we have the part-time fire marshal who does make sure that things are consistent with the city of Keene way of doing things as far as our needs. So as a good example, let's say somebody wants to have a new business and they're gonna build a new building. Our third party knows what is in our fire codes, they know what's in the NFPA, they know what to look for, they know how to do all that, but they may not know about that fire hydrant hidden way back out in the brush that hasn't been seen in a while, but we know it's there. And so we know that we can count that towards their water supply. And that is a real-world example. It happened just this previous year. So things like that. Additionally, I have preferences that are allowed in code, but it's not necessarily in writing there, such as fire department connections and their locations. And so our fire marshal would be able to take a look at that, and we work within the confines of the code to do what's best for our community, rather than just meeting the letter of the law. Yes, sir.
This person then would be able to, well, I guess I'm asking, this person coming from the outside, I guess, you said, are they going to have all that knowledge already when they come in, or is it going to be a learning process for that person?
I have my preferences. I don't have the ability to answer that question right now. I know what I would like. We already have a job description in place for the fire marshal. There may have to be some adjustments to that to be able to hire from without. We're still in negotiation with the ESD. They said that positions such as this would be covered under that grant, but they may also come back and require that it be part-time administrative, not strictly fire marshal, but also helping with other duties within the department. So the intent of that grant, and I don't know if you have the paperwork in front of you, but the intent of that is to increase firefighting capabilities in the county. And my way of looking at it is the most efficient and effective way of fighting fires is you don't let them happen in the first place. That's what fire prevention does, and that's what a fire marshal would be doing.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So I'm assuming this is a specialized person that you're looking for. What is the chance, in your professional opinion, that we would find somebody who could fill this position in next year?
Again, I don't have that ability to look that far forward. I have my hopes. I do have a extensive network of people that I can call to see if they're interested. Beyond that, you're right, it is a specialized part, but it'd only be a division of one person. Fire prevention is responsible for code enforcement, inspections, and public education. So those would be their primary duties. Fire Prevention Week, going out and visiting with the kids and telling them how not to let fires happen, going to assisted living and nursing homes and talking with the elderly, meeting with people on, at different events, having something here at the community center, and just teaching people. That's all the public education part of it. The inspection part of it is there are a multitude. Easiest way to think about it is the fire marshal would be involved in the conception phase of a new development or a new building. So So they're involved in the birth of a business, they're involved during the life of the business with routine fire inspections, and they're involved in the quote-unquote death of a business. When somebody goes out of business, there are certain things that have to happen as well, and they would make sure that that's occurring. And then as far as the actual enforcement, the reason it's called a fire marshal position, the term marshal means law enforcement. They would have to be law enforcement certified. So as a previous fire marshal and still certified as such, I can tell you that I've had to do everything from Class C misdemeanors, municipal infractions, all the way up to, and I've been involved with murder investigations regarding with ending in capital punishment.
How long have we, I have a question, Chief. How long have we had Mr. Cheever here as a part-time fire marshal? Because he's been with the city for many years.
Right.
I've got records going back to '83. He was a fire chief.
He was a previous fire chief when it was back as a volunteer department. He left the city of Keene and went to work full-time for the state fire marshal's office, served a full career there. And upon retirement there, at some point, he did come back as a part-time fire marshal for the city. All I can tell you at this point is he was here before I was. So he's done very, very well. At one point, due to budget constraints, I did have to reduce his hours as a part-time person because we were having to invest more money into our third-party entities to be able to accomplish all these tasks. He's working 16 hours a week now with the understanding that he could be on call at any time. So if there is a fire that occurs on a Sunday night at 11:30 at night, he may be called out there to help investigate that. And he understands that, and he also is gracious enough to adjust his schedule to accommodate people who need their certificate of occupancy fire inspections, and they want it right now. All right, so they're ready to open business, and they need somebody there now to sign off on paperwork. He's done that for this community for a very long time. He's very gracious with what he does. So we'll see.
Yeah, I was just wondering if we're growing busier right now, and that's why we need to go from part-time to full-time, if that's why the need's hitting us now, because we've had part-time for multiple years now.
Right. I will also say that in my tenure, I've recommended a full-time fire marshal to every city manager that I've worked under.
I thought you had.
Yes. That will become, and it already is, a bit of a bottleneck as far as community development. Fire marshal is integrantly involved in getting a new business open.
You mean I'm not the first?
No, no. So, there is a lot of paperwork that has to be signed off on to make sure that our citizens are safe when they walk into a new business or an existing business.
Well, I support whatever you need. If you need the 3 firefighters and the fire marshal, we can find it in the budget and you can hire them. I say do it.
Thank you very much.
So you have my
Appreciate
full
that.
support.
Thank you.
I agree.
Any other questions for me? I can talk all night long on this subject. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chief. So this is an area that I think is a very positive bottom line, because the total cost, if we didn't have additional revenue sources, would be $385,000. But instead, we're looking for $121,000. Now, again, I understand that year 3 from now, we're going to have to, the ESD support goes from, 75% to 35% for an additional year, and by year 4, it's our responsibility. But with the growth and the projections and coming up with a plan, I think this is a great way to get us on the right track to try to get additional staff in our city limits.
I think they were going to do this a couple of years ago too, but we didn't do it. We did look into this already, and we've already talked about it as a council.
So that is one of the things that, all these people on this list, we're going to really try to get in here because, again, I think it'll benefit a lot of, like even he said, and I'm actually glad Chief Warner made a comment. Obviously, in the world I come from, there's lots of times in business where you just can't afford to hire or do what it is exactly what you want. So what you do is you lean on partners, you lean on outside services. And one of the things that once, we get done kind of building this foundation and finding, we can actually get a little bit better reporting and real-time data, we will start looking at who are our partners. And it's not that I want partners to go away, but if we're spending money at a company to support things that we're doing where we can actually bring in someone internally and save the city money, but add an employee to do those things, you know, though, that's something that we're going to do. So case in point, the fire marshal is a perfect example. How often do we reach out to our partners to provide us a fire marshal because we don't have a full-time person? So I think there's additional cost savings that if we really were able to look in the data right now, we'd probably find additional savings to justify some of this. So, any questions? All right, so the next slide, so that kind of gives you a look at costs and all that kind of stuff. The next slide I'm particularly excited about because it's fringe benefits. And this was an area that I just felt, and Sandra's going to come up and speak to this. You'll notice there's not a lot of information, but that's because she literally just had the meeting today with the broker, got to meet the gentleman, wonderful guy. He had some great things to report. And this is an area that is very important to me for our employees, but also felt that it was an area that, you know, we might be able to find some savings. So.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yes, we have some awesome news. So let me just start off. Currently, we do have United Healthcare. Initially, they came in with a 10% increase, unacceptable. That's the norm. At first, they bring in your numbers, and you kind of play back and forth. So the end result, we have a 0 increase, no plan change, no increase to the rates. I mean, everything remains the same. Now, here's some awesome news. Texas Health Benefit Pool in line with TML. A reduction cost of 13%. Yes, 13% on the medical cost. So, yes. What does that come up to? Over $103,000. Yes.
Without less benefits.
Yes.
We're not,
140, what you
benefits
said?
stay the same.
Yes.
130?
No, over 103. 103, pardon me. So there is going to be just a slight difference for the employee. I want to make that, I'm going to be very transparent. So like a copay being $25, it'll be like $30. Meds are also going to be slightly higher. Let's talk about dental and vision. So when we moved, the city moved from Blue Cross Blue Shield to United Healthcare, they were able to bundle all that together. Well, you can only do that 1 year and that's it. So we're moving on with our vision, our dental, LTD, long-term disability, and basic life AD&D. That's all gonna go through Mutual of Omaha, that's what we call it. Dental savings is 10.9%, $525. We have vision savings of 23%, $330. LTD savings of 28%, $3,863. Basic life, $1,086, for a whopping sum of $5,800. Now, when I came to the city, I did not understand why we do not provide short-term disability to our employees. It is there, but it's the responsibility of the employee to enroll. I asked the broker, I said, hey, give me some numbers. You know, it can't be that expensive for our employees. We're looking at a cost of $10,844. Now, is it a cost? Yes, it is. But keep in mind, we just saved over $5,800 by going with our dental, vision, and LTD and basic life with MOO. That's a difference of $5,039. We're going to observe that cost. Just put that cost back here. Okay, maybe way, way, way back there, and then we'll come back to that in a minute. Side note, volunteer life for the employee to have the volunteer life AD&D, there's also an additional savings for the employee. Just wanted to throw that in there. Okay. Let's go back, yes.
They're all, correct?
Yes, the
Dental, vision, all these are optional, so not everybody would jump on it, correct?
No, this is, the city pays for that, for the
Oh,
employees.
we do?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
So we're saving, we're on the road, we're doing great.
okay.
Okay, so let's go back to United Healthcare. Zero cost, rates remain the same, everything's great. What we can do, we can layer MERP. What is MERP? What is going on here? It is a medical expense reimbursement plan, something also like an HRA. We're familiar with that. HRA, like health reimbursement. So what happens with that, that layering process is a tremendous cost savings for the employee. How does that work? Johnny, I'm gonna pick on you. So, Johnny goes to the doctor and doctor says, hey, 20 bucks. Instead of Johnny paying $20 because he got to meet his deductible, that MERP, your deductible is on a card, like the HRA card. And Johnny goes, here, take it out. What happens after Johnny exhausts all those funds? He's met his deductible. There's no additional cost to them. What's the additional cost to the city with MERP? Zero. There's nothing. There's no cost there. Going back to Johnny, he has to remain in the network. If he does not remain in the network, then yes, it's gonna cost him some money. You just have to be in that network to use that card. Do all the employees, are they in the network system? Showed me some numbers. We have about 99% of our employees who see the doctors that are in the network. So there's not gonna be penalizing our employees at all. Let me see, page 2. Oh, how does the city benefit? At the end of the year, when Johnny has not used all his deductible money on that card, the city can, one, get 50% of the remaining cost. Or we can roll that over to the next year, lowering our rates as well. So either or. It is a win-win for the city and a win-win for the employee. Yay. With the MERP, everything's bundled in. You have United Healthcare, the premium rate. You also have the reserve, that's where the MERP has their money. And there's also additional some funds and so forth. But the end cost is the same whether we go with MERP or not, as long as we're with United Healthcare. I did ask him to go back to Texas Health Benefits Pool and see if they can also give us some numbers with the MERP included. And that is because Section 105 of the IRS revenue allows us to do that. So, yay. I should have some numbers. Yes.
Do you mind speaking? He mentioned something about going back to United Health too and trying to get, it was a different kind of program, but it would also save, I think he said probably 8%, remember? Just the E.
Yes.
EVP.
Yes. That is similar where everything's on one plan for all employees. And I don't have my notes on here, so sorry.
Well,
I don't have that information.
There is
but
another
okay.
potential scenario where United Health, because here's the thing, when communicating with Sandra, I understand that this fringe benefits is a target, okay? But I also understand that our city employees, with turnover, with just everything kind of going on, the last thing I want to do is demotivate, right? And really, I would like to have a year where we have a smooth transition, because I would say even a month ago, Sandra was still cleaning up the mess from the last transition last year. And so the way I explained to Sandra was, if it's going to save, if the benefits are going to change this much, but it's going to save the city this much, then I have an obligation to look at that. But if it's going to save the city this or this much and affect the employee this much, I don't want to go down that path, because these are very hardworking individuals, and they do a wonderful job for our city. So, and Sandra's been delivering on that, so thank you very much, Sandra.
Yes.
But again, we just got these numbers today, so obviously, and again, I was hoping that, hey, can we start this process in March so we can, and Sanders like, and the broker's like, no, the July is when we do this, so,
I just want to end too, with Chapter 222 of the Texas Insurance Code, it allows municipalities to exempt themselves from the premium taxes by adopting the single nonprofit trust. Rodney, the broker, will have those documents prepared and all that other good stuff when he comes in. There is no bank trust required, so it's just documentation. So when we're talking about the cost savings, annual cost savings, we're looking at 2%. How much is that? We're looking at $15,000 annual. So bring in that cost that I said, $5,000 back into play on the short-term disability. We can cover that cost for the employees, and we're still saving the additional cost from the nonprofit trust. So, any questions? I know it's a lot.
I was going to say, you kind of went over a lot of information.
went a
Do you
lot.
have something you can give us in written form on a piece of paper that, normally we get like a plan and we get a copy of something every year when we go over it and it has all the line items.
All
It
that
tells
we
us the total
presented
cost.
on the 20th.
well.
Are we gonna
so-
get that at
so
the
I
next
asked-
meeting?
I asked the broker,
Yeah.
again, very nice guy, and I said, get your guys to build me a spreadsheet quick, you know,
Yeah.
so I have something actually to look at. Like I said, I mean, that meeting literally happened 3.5 hours.
Yes, he got
Yeah.
his numbers at 11:30 this morning,
My
and
question is, what did we spend for insurance last year and what are we looking at spending this year? How much is it going up? What's the cost difference? That's really it. Well, that's what I want to see on paper. We're going to have more employees. It can't be zero. We're going to end up spending more because we're adding more employees, but that's what I just want to see.
okay, can do.
All right, anybody else have any questions? Yes, Captain Stroud? Go ahead.
Did I understand you correctly, because I know a lot of times if you do switch insurance companies, a lot of the times there is mutual frustration of, people having to switch providers or switch companies or whatever. Did I understand you correctly, that you said 97% won't have to?
Correct.
Where did they get that information off of the data that was in the past that you,
They can run those numbers, the broker can.
so there's a great likelihood that if we do raise these claims,
The-
that I don't know about, but I'm just saying there are some that do, and that has clarification of this.
So the majority of the employees do stay in with the network. So, and I don't know, it's because of the cost savings. If you go out of network, ouch.
I think his question is the network providers going to change
Well,
going
I
from,
can't.
is that not correct?
I'm sorry, I don't have that information. Each provider's different, so I don't know.
Well,
What I would
we'll-
do-
We'll continue to drill down on this
Yeah.
more. This is more just, again, as we're pulling numbers for building, you know.
That's why I was hesitant on asking the question, I just know that,
Yeah. And Sandra can attest, like, my biggest thing is I would really like our employees to have a calm transition year. Only because, well, as you know, it's been a little rough this year.
Well, can't the broker give us a list of the providers who are with both Texas Health and United Healthcare?
I can reach out to Texas Health. I've dealt with them in the past, and I'll see if they can give me some kind of a network list or something.
Okay.
And of course, UHC, we're currently on that, so our
Right.
employees have access to that.
Okay, so for this plan, it's the same as last year. Is that what you're pricing this at? So same copay, same out-of-pocket, same deductible, same dependent coverage, everything is staying the same?
United Healthcare.
And what is
correct.
that? Do you remember? What is the copays and they're out-of-pocket and do you have any of those figures with you yet? And we did
Well-
70% dependent
But these
coverage.
are
Is
not-
that- we
Well,
didn't change that, did
let's
we?
just wait till we get all of our numbers. I mean, she just said that it's going up a
Okay.
little bit, but it's going to make a lot more sense when we have a spreadsheet in front of us. Because I'm not writing stuff down right now.
Well, and I also want to point out, so when you know, when I started kind of pushing, like, we need some sort of number to put in so we have at least something to talk about, when Sandra came to me and said, and again, I have been on the other side of this, and when she came and said, well, they're projecting a 3 to 4% increase, that's unheard of, which what instantly that tells me, we have healthy staff. You know, that we're not doing a lot of, there's not a lot of cost. And then for them to come back and say 0, you know, of course, and I kind of nudged him and said, well, can you give us a discount? And he says, no, but I knew that wasn't going to happen, so.
Well, I just want to say thank you very much for all the hard work that you've done on this and the research. I think that's
Thank you, I appreciate it.
much appreciated. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Sandra, yes, thank you.
Johnny,
If you ever
thank
find anybody that does $20 doctor's visit, let me know. Every time I go to the doctor, it's $150.
All right. Anything else to discuss?
There's one more fringe benefit that is in your packet that I just kind of want to just speak to a little bit. And I'm very appreciative to Brent Batla and, you know, his team last year, the last couple of years. There's been a big focus on staff. And so it's nice to inherit a situation to where, you know, we're at least competitive. Again, that's going to help bring that stability that we talk about to the city, help with turnover and all that kind of stuff. But I will say, I want to maintain what we're doing, but my focus is really on let's fix some of the problems out there. You know what I mean? And hopefully city staff will not get upset at me for saying that, but we do. We have a lot of things out there that need replaced. And so I'm happy that, you know, she's found some cost savings, because I want to take those savings and let's invest them into, let's now fix the infrastructure and the things that our employees have to work with on a daily basis. So, and the reason I lead with that is the retirement plan. They did pass that we can now do 8% with the 2-to-1 match. And I had to go back and look, and Holly helped me with this. Was it mandated or was it you can? Well, we can. And again, this is something that I do want us to also look forward and look to in the future, but I don't think this year is the year to do it. And the reason is because the comparison in this chart here with kind of the different options, we would have to find an additional $300,000 or $400,000 to make that happen. And right now, I've got baling wire and duct tape police department right now, and you know, I really want to take any savings that we can find, because again, starting tomorrow, you know, Mayor and I are going to be going line by line, doing a 3-year comparison of anything that hasn't reached budget. Like, where can we cut so that we can try to, and hopefully Chief Warner won't hate me for this, or the fire department that are in there. As much as I would love to get an ambulance next year, I know we're not going to spend $450,000 next year because we don't have the money. But at least we know that that's a need that we need to start thinking about addressing today versus waiting until the wheels are falling off. So again, I want you to be aware of the retirement benefits, but just know that this is not something I'm putting a lot of focus in right now, because I want us to fix some of the infrastructure problems with any savings we can get this year. So, but anyway, there's an FYI in there so you can kind of see it, but you'll see. I mean, there's 2 routes we can go, and we're either looking at $300,000 or $100,000 or $500,000 to, you know, to do that. So.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Sides. Any questions for Mr. Sides? All right.
Well, I want to thank you, council, very much for, I know these workshops are, I promise it'll get better every year. You know, right now, again, we're building the infrastructure, and I want you to hear it, and I want the community to hear it, that when we fix foundationally the things that we're working on and the processes, I want our city to get to the point where we are doing mid-year budget reviews, so we can do adjustments and things in March, like, you know, like a a well-run city should be doing. And again, things are just so chaotic there's no way. I mean, the way things are set up right now. So the goal right now is to start this next year with again, and again, Sandra and Mira and Jacqueline, and Beatrice. I mean, everyone's doing a great job of building the foundation correct so that this isn't this difficult. And so right now it feels, at least for me, feels very last minute, a little bit chaotic because of how we're having to try to get things done. I know I want to give you budget books sooner, and we will. And in January, I want us doing our audits in January so that we can close the year, have good numbers to start with, so then in March we are doing mid-year budget reviews. So just so you and the community knows, that's what we're working on right now.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Seitz. We appreciate it. All right, moving on. Agenda item number 5, we do not have an executive session, so we can skip agenda item number 6. Moving on to agenda item number 7, request for future agenda items. Council, do you have anything for the next meeting? And that will be Thursday, August 7, 2025. No? Okay. Before we adjourn, I'm just going to go ahead and read off what we do have as upcoming meetings, just so that y'all will keep this in mind and so our citizens are aware. We have a regular meeting scheduled for Thursday, August 7, 2025. We have a tentative meeting scheduled for Thursday, August 21st. We have a meeting scheduled for September 4. We have a special meeting tentative scheduled for September 11, and we have another meeting scheduled for September 18. So just keep those in mind as you're putting them in your calendar. All right, 6:48 p.m. Meeting is adjourned.